Passover is always different. Jerusalem is so busy, 3 and 4 times the number of people who would normally gather in the temple. Visitors from far and wide all come to celebrate this most important of feasts, marking our release from slavery in Egypt, marking our birth as a nation. The Passover commemorates what it means to be Jewish, and of course, because the visitors have come so far, they need to buy their sacrificial lambs, their temple coins, once they get here. Even some of the locals might not have a suitable lamb or dove or goat, and so the court of the Gentiles is full of vendors. I mean, we wouldn't want to buy anywhere else, would we? It's so convenient, right there where we need it. Passover is always different. But this Passover was, in some ways, no different from all other Passovers. Just as crowded, just as busy, just as noisy. In fact, it may have been even busier and noisier than other Passovers because there was a rumour that Jesus of Nazareth, the teacher everyone was talking about, was going to be there. And then, would you believe it? He came. The previous day he had ridden into Jerusalem on the back of a donkey. The crowd went wild. Cheers and cries, Hosanna! Palm branches, cloaks and coats spread on the ground before him. What an entrance! Passover is always different, but this one was even more different. And at the temple today it was, I suppose, business as usual, at least to begin with. All the buying and selling, all the chatter, the bargaining, the haggling, people catching up with friends and relatives that they haven't seen for a year, laughing, crying, shouting, arguing, lambs and goats bleating, doves cooing, so much noise. Then he arrived. Everybody knew he was there because the atmosphere changed. You could hear the conversations beginning to tail off. Haggling became less intense. You would think that in such a crowd a few extra men would go unnoticed, but they didn't. He has such presence. And I suppose a lot of people were hoping to be able to speak to him, or even just touch the hem of his garment. People began to gravitate towards him. And then it happened. Without warning, he grabbed the edge of one of the tables belonging to the money changers and tipped it over. It crashed to the ground. Coins bouncing, clattering, rolling between the stones, money changers scrabbling, others retreating, silence falling. His voice echoing in the silence. God's house shall be called a house of prayer, but you are making it a den of robbers. Were we stealing? Was this business not necessary and legitimate? But as I stared around at the mayhem, remembering the noise and bustle which had greeted me that morning when I arrived at the temple, I knew that we were indeed guilty of theft. We had stolen the space to worship. We had stolen peace.